What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Gooner channel, a channel 100% dedicated to the Arsenal, who, as we all know, are by far the greatest team the world has ever seen. And yesterday we beat Crystal Palace 5-0 in the early kick-off on a Saturday, and isn't it nice that we have a weekend that we can enjoy having won a game, rather than have one ruined for us by a defeat. And actually I thought, going into this match, it was a must-win game, because, let's be honest, the atmosphere around the club is getting steadily worse up to that point. One win in 7 games is all anyone's been talking about. Failure to score. We desperately need a striker. Things aren't working. It's gone backwards. Edu's not doing his job because he's not signing players in a transfer window. So having won the game, I expected to feel joyous about it, particularly because it was such a convincing performance. And I know Crystal Palace were abject, but you still have to beat what's in front of you. Instead, what I felt was just relief. A really unpleasant level of relief. Not just relief because it ends a bit of a scoring drought, because it's a result that puts us back in contention, but relief because of the absolutely toxic atmosphere that seemed to be developing. At the end of last season, when we came out of nowhere and unexpectedly challenged for the title, right up until after Easter, the criticism that followed from outside the club was that we were bottlers, that we'd failed, that we'd done really badly. Never mind that we did better than everyone but Man City, a team I think we can all say proved themselves to be the best team in the world by winning the treble. We weren't the only team that didn't beat Man City last season to the title. I'm not saying that coming second was the highlight of my time as an Arsenal fan. I've lived through some fantastic moments. But it felt very much like progress, unexpected levels of progress. And this season, with the summer transfer window we were all buoyed by, we showed that we can mix it up with the big clubs. We attracted Declan Rice, who was wanted by a host of teams. We also signed Kai Havertz, and that's been hugely divisive. But overall, it felt like a really good summer transfer window. And there wasn't a huge disappointment that we didn't sign a striker, because last season we showed we could score goals. Goals from all over the park. 88 goals, a record for us. Now, this season hasn't gone as well. We've had some injuries. Thomas Partey out. Jurriën Timber, who looked like such a solid signing. Someone who could compete with Zinchenko at the left-back position. But the toxicity that I'm noticing that's really affecting me is not coming from outside the club. It's not coming from Tottenham fans who you expect this from. They're deluded. Having a go at us for not winning the league is about as ridiculous as it gets. The toxicity that I'm feeling that's affecting me most is from within our own club. It's our own fans critical of us. After the run of really poor results with the winter break that we're not used to, a welcome break, Arteta and the team, along with Edu, went out to Dubai. And all anyone could say was, how comes they're being rewarded with a break, a holiday, when they're playing so badly? As if they should be punished for having not played well enough. Against West Ham, we just didn't score the goals. We did everything else right. It was a great game. Against Liverpool, we should have been 2 or 3-0 up in the first half. Of course there's something wrong when goals don't go in. But is it just the variation that can happen? Or is it something endemically wrong? Is it because we didn't go out and sign a massive name in the summer up front? Is Ivan Toney the answer to all our problems? The toxicity that I'm talking about is coming from our own fans. And one of the most triggering videos I've watched recently is the video with Dan Potts, Troops and Curtis Shaw. And the video's entitled, I've Had Enough of This Club Blood. And it got my blood boiling, frankly, because it neatly encapsulates everything that frustrates me about a certain element of our fan base. First of all, they go in on the fact that having played so badly in the run-up to this break, the whole club went out to Dubai. And I've seen a lot of people criticising this as if we were rewarding the team for going away on some sort of jolly, for not playing well enough, as well as we'd hoped they would. And that, again, I will just say, it's not that necessarily we haven't been playing well, it's just we haven't been getting the results. And that can happen. That is variance. But here's what they have to say about it.
What about the ownership? What about Edu? What about the Havertz transfer? What about Win the Dog PR and all this stuff going off in Dubai? You know, you've lost 3 games in a row. And even Salt Bay, but you know.
Yo, you see them? Let me just say that one more time, yeah. If we can go Salt Bay, we can eat steak. I'll spend 2 bags if I'm stunting on the wife. I'll do it, blood. But Mecca tells man something. anybody do that foolery on my table, you are no longer my brethren. Yeah? And yeah, you're no longer my brethren, blood. Yeah, them in the car running on my radio. Or they bomb back like, yo, I'm just some boy. I said, voila, the man just dangle the thing, so I said, no pause. I want it. Yo, what type of fuckery this, my you? Them in the car running, you know.
Bro, did you see him rubbing his hand on the shoulder?
The man, holy man. Pause. Coming out with that one, no boy hand. I don't even know my son's hand, yeah? Put my arm around him like, yo, come across on the road, Carter. Because Trey can roll now, you get me? I say, yo, Carter, come. Put my arm around him.
Yeah.
I want to some boy. Yo. Man, they probably, hey, nah. Lord of his mercy.
Man, I told you, when it comes to PR, we're Champions League winners. You know what I mean?
We are elite. We're elite,
mate. Called win when we don't win. Bro. And they got the managers getting fed, you know what I mean? That looks mad uncomfortable.
Mad! Each to their own, but delete my number if you're doing that.
Still. Delete my number if you're doing that. If it was top of the league, I don't agree with it. Let me just say that. Even
if we're top of the league, I'm still,
I'll shamelessly let him do it.
You're supporting that. You condone
that.
I'm
not supporting it, but I'm just saying it would have been funny if we were top of the league.
I don't care if we won Champions League. I don't care if we done the treble, blood. Yeah? No, boy. Do them things around me. Yeah?
I hear you.
He's out there representing man, you know, fam. Nah, you can't represent that man. Nah, I would have said, yo. You can't. All right, let me. Yeah.
The thing on the ham was mad.
Don't even allow that, blood. This club's bare fruity, you know. I've had enough of this club, blood.
Oh man. Yeah.
Now, first of all, leaving aside the unsavoury homophobia implicit in what they're talking about, Arteta went to an expensive steakhouse and he put his hand on another man's hand. And what Troop says is that he can't do this because he's representing troops. This is what it feels like. It feels like these kinds of fans think that everything Arsenal do is a reflection of them. Arsenal's been around since 1886. It's got nothing to do with troops, or me, or you. It's an institution that we support. We're supporters. We joined Arsenal. They didn't join us. Now, I want to get to this Dubai trip because I think it's really naive, this attitude that we somehow decided to reward the players with a break. These are elite athletes, top sportsmen. And if you think the best results you're going to get out of them are by punishing them in cold weather training, I just don't get it. We need them to be at their best. We needed them to have a mental break. Saka talked about it in the interview afterwards. They felt refreshed yesterday. We needed this. And if you can do it, and you can't often, but then you would do it. But it isn't even that. This trip to Dubai is exactly like our pre-season trip to the United States. It's a commercial enterprise. We are in Dubai trying to raise the profile of the club so that our commercial success can be improved, so we can go out and compete with teams like Manchester City, who have a limitless supply of money. Now, I know Edu hasn't gone out and signed anyone in this transfer window, but who has? Who is spending the big money? We might wish that there were no profit and sustainability rules, but there are. Spending 100 million could put us in danger. I know no one wants to hear that, but that is actually the fact. Should we not have signed Kai Havertz and instead put the money towards someone else? Arguably, yes. Do we make missteps in the transfer market? Yes, we do. I've seen Arteta criticised for the players he's brought in. But yesterday's team, 9 of them were Arteta signings. Gabriel, who was outstanding yesterday, was one of his first signings. The 2 players that were on the pitch that weren't Arteta signings were Bukayo Saka, who he's done as much as anyone to promote. In fact, one of the problems is he won't stop playing him. And William Saliba, who's never played for another Arsenal manager. This team is an Arteta team. The team that went out and beat Crystal Palace yesterday 5-0 is an Arteta team. And I felt relieved because I thought, maybe this will silence some of those toxic fans. But I'm also convinced that it won't. If we draw away to Nottingham Forest, it's a problem. Now, the other thing that these fans are all absolutely certain about is that we have totally blown our chance of the title by not signing a striker. And this bothers me as much as anything. Of the top 5 teams, it's true to say that we've scored the fewest goals. There is only one team that's conceded fewer than us, so it's working defensively. But up front, you have to say we haven't been scoring as many. They are convinced that Ivan Toney is the answer. I'm not. We can agree to disagree on that one. But to claim that Edu's not doing his job, Just think of the transformation. Just think of what it looked like when Arteta took over, the players. We were nowhere. We were drifting. We were terrible. We couldn't beat Frankfurt at home in the Europa League. We couldn't get into the Champions League. And now we're heading to a round of 16 game against Porto, which is eminently winnable. And if we do win it, we're in the quarterfinals, and who knows? But the real issue, the real trigger for me was that they're not just blaming Edu and, by extension, the rest of his team who actually do the transfers, because it's not actually Edu that goes out and signs players, it's his team. He's a director and he oversees that. It's not just Arteta, who obviously has some input into the transfers, although it's not his choice exclusively, we know that. But they're really blaming the Arsenal fans. They're saying that we've gotten so used to failure that we tolerate this.
Times when something happens for so long, you feel like it's normal. And that's what I think's happened at Arsenal. Like, we was top of the tree with United, and we've slipped so far down, people think, well, this is just where we are now. You know, you hear people say, oh, we can't compete with City. You can compete with City because Klopp's won everything since Pep's been the manager of Man City. So that's an excuse. But until the mindset of the fan base changes, they'll rather go on Twitter and go mad because you put a tweet out saying something about Arteta and they're going crazy about it.
And that's where I get my hackles up. I've been an Arsenal fan for 42 years. My first games were when we were just bang average. We hadn't won the league since 1971 and we had no chance of doing so. In fact, in the 42 years I've been supporting Arsenal, we've won 5 leagues. So Curtis Shaw makes the point that it's because we've accepted this failure, that's why we're so mediocre. That, you know, you can compete with Man City. Look, Liverpool have done it. Yeah, Liverpool have won 1 league in 30-something years now. I don't think their fans are as toxic as ours, I'll be honest with you. And when I say toxic fans, I know what I'm really talking about is not the crowds that turn up at the Emirates and do such a good job of supporting the team. And it's not the fans, the mostly silent majority, who are happy with the progress we're making. This small cabal of fans who are just never happy with anything. They're literally angry now. They want to rip up everything. Here's Dan Potts talking about who we should get as a manager.
I'm not going for another manager that's like this. I don't want no Xabi Alonso. I don't want no De Zerbi, no Arne Slot. Go and get me a Carlo Ancelotti, a Hans Flick, or dare I say it, a Diego Simeone. When everyone says that name, you may as well go support Tottenham because you're toxic and trash, right? For me, they're winners. They've all got a CV that says win. And do you know what, actually? Simeone in the last couple of years hasn't even done that. Yes, should be under pressure at Atletico Madrid. Only reason he isn't is because he's a legend over there for what he's done with them, right?
Now, I want to pick this apart because I'm a Bayern fan as well. I'm Arsenal through and through, always be Arsenal. But my German team, I love Bayern. I'm from a town in Austria very near Bayern, and it's the big club in that region. And yeah, it's a great team to support. I will point out that they just lost today against Werder Bremen, having had their own mini break and recovering from it. And they had like 3 good chances on goal. And that's having signed a £100 million striker, one of the best strikers in the world. Bayern fans, we're not going to be happy about it. Thomas Tuchel does seem to be taking us a little bit backward. But he talks about Hansi Flick. Hansi Flick was a legend, is a legend at Bayern. But he's out of work at the moment because he fell apart as a German manager. His period of success at Bayern is likely to come again somewhere else, maybe back at Bayern when Tuchel finally goes. But Hansi Flick instead of Arteta? How realistic was it anyway that we would get Hansi Flick when he was still at Bayern? It was impossible to conceive. Then he talks about Diego Simeone, and he also, as you saw, goes on to say, well, even Diego Simeone should be under pressure. Diego Simeone's been at Athletic Madrid for 13 years. He's won 2 leagues, 1 Copa del Rey, 2 Europa Leagues, and he's been a runner-up in the Champions League twice. It's a great record, you have to say, for a team outside of Real Madrid and Barcelona to do as well as Athletic Madrid have done. Huge amount of respect. Diego Simeone was never coming to Arsenal. He's never shown any interest in managing the Premier League at all. And the other one, Carlo Ancelotti? Of course, Carlo Ancelotti at Real Madrid. Carlo Ancelotti is one of the great managers of the world. Didn't work for him at Everton though, did it? He could have gone for Ancelotti, and then could we be in the same position now as Everton are? Facing points deductions again? Having overspent? I'm grateful we didn't. I will say, there was a point where I really did feel like we should have gone for Ancelotti and not Arteta. I was not massively in favour of Mikel Arteta becoming Arsenal manager because I thought he lacked the experience. And when it became obvious that he'd fallen out with many of the players in the dressing room that he inherited, I thought maybe this was a sign of his weakness, that he was too stubborn, played players like Willian. In fact, the transformation from where he was at his low point to now is huge. And it's because there is a process, and because that process was something that was supported by the club's hierarchy. And I think we're in a good place right now. I'm sorry if you feel like we're not doing well enough, if that reflects badly on you. But it doesn't. I can't think of a reason to be this unhappy or this angry with Arsenal at the moment. Later on, they go on to talk about how, the problem is that we don't have any cover for Zinchenko at left back. Of course we don't. We have injuries. Tomiyasu's away with the Asian Cup and he's been injured. And Jurgen Timber, in his very first game for us, out for the season. Hugely unlucky. I do feel that we should have done more to strengthen the defence in the summer transfer window. But I don't think we should have signed a striker then. And whilst I'd love to see us upgrade Eddie Nketiah, this is what we have. Even the great Arsenal teams had players like Christopher Wray in there that weren't quite good enough but could come in and do a job. Maybe that's just what Nketiah is. There are very few teams in the world that have a squad of 25 world-class players. It would be really hard to sustain that because you can't give them all game time. But the answer, bring Tierney back, overlooks one little thing. And it's something I find myself saying to people who are advocating Tierney all the time, which is, do you remember last time he played a really good game for Arsenal? He looked hopelessly out of sorts in the last... I know he wasn't given game time, but when he was, he didn't look like the world's best left-back. And there is a reason why he started on the bench for Real Sociedad in their last game. Of course, he came on and he played really well. But they don't look like they want him long-term. And that's not Arteta's fault. That's because Real Sociedad don't think Kieran Tierney is their answer either. And that's Real Sociedad. I do think we probably need to strengthen the defence. I'm sure of it. But January is a really tough time to sign players. No one signs big players in January because it's really hard. Because you're in the middle of a season, no one wants to let them go. And there's no guarantee that that's going to have a massive impact anyway. They go on to talk about how it should be Benzema. Right, listen, Benzema's a great player. He's on £280,000 a week. It would cost us roughly 42 million if we met his salary requirements for the last 6 months. 42 million, it goes up in smoke. And if we don't win the league, and let's say we didn't qualify for Europe either, that could really hamstring us next season and the seasons to come. I don't think Benzema's the answer. This talk about how we don't score enough goals, I get it. When you look at Man City scoring 48 and we've scored 42 now, they're 6 goals better than us. But what if we did go to Nottingham Forest next week and score 6? And I'm not saying I think we will. I actually don't. But if we did, then we'd have scored as many goals as anyone in the league. Would they still be complaining we need a striker? Or would it be something else now? It seems like these are fans that only want to support Arsenal because we win things. That's not why you support a football club. That shouldn't be why you support a football club. Lots of fans support football clubs that don't win the treble every year. That's football. Like I said, I've been supporting Arsenal for 42 years. We've won 5 leagues. I'd spend so much of my life angry like these people if all I cared about was winning leagues. Now, I don't think Arteta is immune from criticism. I feel like last season and for most of this season, he's failed to rotate players well enough. Last season, I put it down to the fact he didn't trust his bench. He had a summer, he brought in 4 players. I know one of them's injured. I know he's lost Partey. But I don't think there's been enough rotation. So I was delighted yesterday to see us use 5 substitutes, to see Emil Smith-Rowe come on. Another criticism of Arteta is that he doesn't use the academy players. In fact, in his entire tenure at Arsenal, he has not promoted any academy players at all. Yeah, he's used Smith-Rowe sparingly now and more before. And Saka, of course, is an ever-present. But these are players who'd already had their start under Unai Emery. Arteta, as I said, is not immune from criticism. Yesterday, there was progress. He did use his bench. He did rotate. He brought in Trossard. He dropped Martinelli. That seemed to have a positive effect. I think, ultimately, this group of fans just will not be happy. And one of the reasons for that is because making a lot of noise and complaining and bitching is a better way to get viewers. And this is all about content creators wanting to get attention. And so this is how they get attention. And it drives me crazy because it makes me feel like they're doing it at our expense. Let Chelsea fans laugh at us for not having won the Champions League because they used Russian billionaire Roman Abramovich's money before the time of profit and sustainability. Let them compare us to Man City and say it's not good enough. Man City, for most of that 42 years I've been an Arsenal fan, you would never want to be a Man City fan. Their time has come. They went and got the world's best manager. He's done an amazing job. He's brought in players who are the best players in the world, who might not have been when he signed them, but they certainly are now. Kevin De Bruyne, who flopped at Chelsea. I mean, they have some outstanding players. It's not embarrassing to come second to a team as good as Manchester City. It's frustrating. We all want to win leagues. But being an Arsenal fan isn't about winning things. It's about being an Arsenal fan and supporting the club. Yesterday, the Ashburton Army introduced an initiative where everyone had to throw their scarves up. And some elements of our fan base at the stadium were disappointed by that and made it known. It's not about waving scarves. No, it's not. It's about cheering the team on. The atmosphere at the Emirates has been outstanding in the last couple of years, and I put a lot of that down to Arteta's initiatives. So, the fact that he's at Salt Bay eating a really expensive steak, spending a load of money on steak, he's a millionaire. Of course he spends a lot of money. I'm sure Pep Guardiola doesn't eat KFC. Or maybe he does, I don't know. What they do in their own time is their own business. Do I agree with everything Arteta's done? No. Do I wish that we'd strengthened a little bit more in this January transfer window? Yes. But do I understand that we have to cut our cloth according to our commercial enterprise? And that when it comes to commercials, we're still on the up. This is our first season in the Champions League. We have to be a little bit careful. I'd love to see a huge name come in, but I don't know if it would make that much of a difference. I believe Arteta's right when he says we have to work with what we've got. Because what we've got is not crap. Having a go at our players is something that other teams should do. I don't particularly like every player that puts an Arsenal shirt on, but I do support them when they have that shirt on. I realise that it's my fault for paying attention to these people. I'm making a New Year's resolution late in January, and that is, from now on, I'm going to avoid listening to people who really don't know what they're talking about. Arsenal should be the best club in the world. I understand what's happened here. They're a certain age. When they were very young, they were used to us winning everything, and they thought that was normal. And they thought they were supporting a team that was always going to deliver that. So the last 20 years has been hugely frustrating for all of us. The end of the Wenger era, where we were hopelessly out of touch. The Unai Emery period, where the football wasn't great to watch and they didn't seem to play with the passion. I understand that we've had a really tough period as Arsenal fans. It's been really hard to watch. And honestly, I don't think we are going to win the league this season. Maybe we will win the Champions League. Whatever we win and whenever we win it, the thing that I feel most strongly about is that these fans that couldn't support us through the small blips that we had have no business celebrating the trophies we do go on to win. And if it turns out that the Arteta era is not going to deliver us to the promised land, then I'm sorry about it. But right now, my gut is telling me that we are lucky to have a manager like him. An inexperienced manager still learning. Think of how long it took Alex Ferguson to deliver silverware. Pep Guardiola didn't come in and make them treble winners straight away. Klopp didn't turn up at Liverpool and win the league straight away. He's only won one league as well. So for being one of the best managers in the world, shows you just how difficult it is. If you disagree with me, if you think that I'm too pro-Arteta and too positive and that the problem is that people like me are holding us back because our expectations aren't the treble every season and we tolerate a certain amount of building work in a process to deliver us trophies, then fine. Stop watching. Don't watch another one of these. I'm going to look for ways to be positive and I'm going to turn away from the things that trigger me, the toxic fan base that drives me mad. And it isn't just these three. I have nothing against Dan Potts. I have nothing against Troops. I found Troops enormously entertaining at times. I have nothing against Curtis Shaw. They're Arsenal fans. They're entitled to their opinion. But taking a piss out of us, saying that everything's wrong and that we're part of the problem because we accept the mediocrity of being in the title race till past Easter. We're still in the shout now. We're still there now. We could still win the league now. It's unlikely, but it's possible. At the same time, I looked at the game yesterday and I thought, Crystal Palace, I'm not a Crystal Palace fan. I don't understand what their main problem is. I can understand that they're frustrated and disappointed with their league position. I know that when Patrick Vieira was sacked, it felt harsh to me, and Roy Hodgson coming in felt like a stopgap. The fact he's still there points to a lack of direction. I can understand all of this. I feel like today Arsenal fans feel like the club represents them. And actually it's not that. You support your club, rain or shine. If you're a Middlesbrough fan, it's mostly rain. But they still come. But I think in terms of toxicity in a fan base, I think we take some beating. Now, we have the bigger social media presence. I get that. But I just feel like it's the emptiest vessels that make the most noise. Let me know in the comments if you disagree. Let me know if you're a fan who thinks that I am part of the problem. The fans like me who are happy, who are excited by the way we're playing, who can see a forward direction, are holding us back. I more than happily debate this with you live. So let me know if you're interested in doing that. And also let me know if you think I'm right. If you're really happy with the way things are going, even if you're not happy with the little results on the way. These things do happen. Bayern Munich just lost at home to Werder Bremen. They had a break. They came back from the break with their £100 million signing up front and couldn't score a goal, couldn't even create a chance. Real Madrid have only just gone 2-2 with Almeria, the team bottom of La Liga. These things happen. You have to be stronger to be a fan. Anyway, rant over. I am happy that we beat Crystal Palace 5-0. I do think we can go away and beat Nottingham Forest. And then I think that if we can just beat Liverpool at home in the game after that, game on again. Come on, you Gunners. Till I see you again. Be lucky. Lots of love.